Convenience sampling is a non-probability sampling technique where samples are selected from the population only because they are conveniently available to the researcher. So the name itself says convenience. So researcher chooses these samples just because they are easy to recruit, and the researcher did not consider selecting a sample that represents the entire population. So I repeat here, this was not the case in terms of probability sampling. We were having the representative there who were representing the entire population, wherein here they are selecting a sample which does not consider the entire population. Ideally, in research, it is good to test a sample that represents the population. But in some research, so it's basically depends upon the type of research that you are doing or planning to do. Basis on that, you can decide which kind of sampling would be beneficial for you. So, in such research, sample that represents the population, but in some research, the population is too large to examine and consider the entire population. So it is one of the reasons why researchers rely on convenience sampling, which is the most common non-probability sampling method because of its speeds, cost effectiveness, and ease of availability of the sample. Convenience sampling is primarily determined by convenience to the researcher. That could include factors like ease of access, geographical proximity, existing contact with the population of interest. So convenience samples are sometimes called accidental samples also, because participants can be selected from samples simply because they happen to be nearby when the researcher is conducting the data collection. So we'll take one example to deeply understand this sampling method. You are investigating the association between daily weather and daily shopping patterns. To collect insights into people's shopping pattern, you decide to stand out a major shopping mall in your area for a week and stopping people as they exit and asking them if they are willing to answer a few questions about their purchases. So here, in this technique, there is a little judgment of speculation when choosing the representative sample is convenience sampling. The sole selection criterion is the ease of obtaining a participant. So this can depend on cost, geographic distributions, or the facility of obtaining data. Some example of convenience sampling could include recruiting friends to participate in your study, collecting data from nearby location, or sending a survey in the mail, and lastly, sharing a link on social media. So the researcher might choose participants because of their physical proximity, their availability at the given point of time, or their willingness to participate. Here, a researcher might survey individuals in a local shopping mall, or students in a university lecture, or individuals on a busy city street. If high school students are conducting a study on the average pizza consumption in the cafeteria each week, they could call their classmates and ask how many slices they consume during the week. So, this is how the convenience sampling is being done because they are very convenient for the researcher and easy to get the access. When do you use such kind of convenience sampling? Any thoughts that comes into your mind? So we use this convenience sampling method in specific circumstances like preliminary or exploratory research. Convenience sampling can be good starting point when conducting initial or exploratory study. It allows you to gather data and insights quickly and efficiently, which can be useful in informing more rigorous probability sampling later. Next reason could be resources constraint. When there are constraints in terms of time, budget, and manpower, convenience sampling is a very low-cost method to collect data. Third challenge could be accessibility. When a population is hard to get access or sample frame is unavailable, convenience sampling would be feasible way to collect data. Next reason could be research generalizability is not the primarily goal. So if the goal of your research is not to generalize the finding to a large population, but to gain deep insight, test instruments, or understand a new phenomena. Convenience sampling can be used. Pilot testing. Before launching a full scale research study, a pilot study using convenience sampling might be conducted to test the procedure, measures, and protocols that have been designed for the data collection. We'll also understand what are the advantages of convenience sampling. Quick, uncomplicated method of data collection. Convenience sampling is beneficial when time is constrained, as it is a simple method and takes minimal effort. Many researchers prefer convenience sampling as there are few rules to follow, this allowing researchers to generate large samples in short period of time. Next is this is advantage that we are talking about. More advantage that is the best advantage also for the researcher is inexpensive, because while doing a research, there's ample of research data that you have to collect, and then in searching those data and collecting those data, you spend a lot of money, knowingly or unknowingly. So this particular method is inexpensive. Convenience sampling has little cost involved as no travel or extensive planning is necessary. This method is particularly useful for students who are on a budget, as it requires minimal cost and experience. Readily available sample. Convenience sampling tends to be collected with populations that are easily attainable. As the data is readily available, researchers can use convenience sampling to conduct pilot data or explore a hypothesis that might be tested in future research. And if more participants need to be added later, researcher can effortlessly create more samples. So these were the advantages that we discussed. What do you think, according to you, would be the limitations? So the first limitation we already studied is convenience bias. Convenience bias or selection bias can occur when researchers use convenience sampling for their study. Bias is the primary disadvantage of convenience sampling. In some cases, this sole limitation can outweigh the advantages. Collected samples may not represent the population of interest, thus, the result cannot be generalized to a greater population. So, some examples of the types of biases that could result from convenience sampling include sampling bias, selection bias, and positivity bias. Next drawback could be low external validity. So, this is very true because high probability of bias in convenience sampling, your research finding will likely have little credibility in the greater research industry. We'll see certain examples to better get the idea, like collect symptoms profiles of patient with COVID-19, estimate immunity to vaccine preventable diseases in children in Victoria, examine the physical, mental, and cognitive functions, study eating disorder symptoms, and evaluated risk and problem gambling. So all these examples definitely gives a low external validity. We'll further see the next type of non-probability sampling.